that was humiliating for at least our perspective, was that it was humiliating. But that type of misinformation, that type of lying to protect Trump, it works with his base. And that was abundantly clear at this rally in West Virginia. Now, with that said, luckily Eric Byler was there. He did talk to some Trump supporters. The topic wasn't specifically on Michael Cohen or Paul Manafort, but it did give you a little bit of a sense of what these Trump supporters are thinking, their mindset, and just how much they lack trust toward the people that maybe they should listen to, or at least, consider their perspectives. With that said, though, let's hear what they had to say about censorship and their favorite newscaster.
One of my favorite newscasters has just recently been banned from, YouTube and Facebook platforms.
Why do you think Alex Jones was banned?
A lot of people don't like his message. I enjoy his message. I'm not one of those people that believes everything he says. However, he puts an interesting spin on turning the frogs gay, for example. It really makes you look at the white papers.
I don't know a single thing that he says except for the Newtown massacre not having happened. But what is the frogs being gay?
Chemicals in the water. Basically, you've got male frogs, no longer inclined to breed with females. So it's.
And it's not just like rhetoric or talk. I mean, this stuff is done in labs. There are scientific facts. There's things that people do that aren't covered or that they just mock at or laugh at.
So I want to be clear here, okay? Eric Byler is part of Rebel headquarters. And part of the Young Turks goes down there and interviews them. Emma Biglin does it from time to time. And I think that, unfortunately, Trump has a great way of brainwashing a lot of his supporters so that they believe in such things as truth isn't truth and crime isn't crime, et cetera, right? But as I watched that whole interview, and we'll have the link down below for you guys if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook, or just go to youtube.com/rebelhq. I kind of like that couple. I know that's a funny thing to say. And I felt bad that they were being misled. I actually thought that they were somewhat open-minded. And so, in mass, Trump fans appear to be caricatures almost, especially how they act on social media. But that's why I like actually going in and meeting them. And so, in meeting them, I actually felt, I don't even think sympathy is the right word. I think that they are in their own mind, in trying to keep an open mind, okay? But that's the problem with a guy like Alex Jones, because he got them to believe that the gay frogs were based on studies and facts.
And by the way, I don't care about the gay frog conspiracy theories because that doesn't put anyone's life in danger.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's relatively benign.
He spreads the conspiracy theory. His fans enjoy the conspiracy theory. They're entertained by it. We're entertained by it. We make fun of him, and then we move on with our lives.
I know, but you know what? I'm sorry. Let me give a caveat, right? So it's fun if it's just about gay frogs and chemicals in the water. And you should, by the way, you should be careful about things that are in the water.
There are actually chemicals in the water, just not chemicals that are turning frogs gay.
That's right. And the real problems are in Flint, Michigan, where you actually have lead in the water, et cetera, right? But if he then uses that to say like, oh, that's why human beings are turning gay, and so it's not, and then somehow just weaves that into basically discrimination against gay Americans, then it's not fun and it's disastrous. But I honestly, I don't know what else he does with his stupid gay frog theory, okay? But my sense of this, and you can say that I'm being too generous here, is that these are not bad guys. They watched the wrong show. They got led into believing that those were facts when they're not facts. And that's part of the problem with that guy like Jones.
Yeah, playing the role of overly generous host today is Cenk Uygur. Sometimes we switch that role. Sometimes I'll play that role.
Depends on our mood.
Yeah, it really does. So I'm just gonna be quiet and move on to the next video. In the next video, they talk about how offensive it is to be referred to as a certain type of person by non-Trump supporters.
Did you get shouted at as you entered the building?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And I waved and videotaped.
Protesters actually right out here.
Info. sorry. We got
Your heroes are here.
We shouted some facts, and they didn't have much else to say.
They
The
just
rain
scream.
came.
They just scream that you're racist and you're white supremacist and all this. They just scream at you when you try to talk to them. They don't want anything to do with you.
It would have been nice to have some intellectual debate, but there was none of that.
So we smile and we wave and we go.
So he went on to talk about how it's all a lot of the propaganda you hear from different places. Facts don't care about your feelings. Gee, I wonder where you got that one from, right? But when he said it's not racist, they're just facts, I was like, oh boy, I wonder what he thinks those facts are, right? And that's what's so problematic about the propaganda spread by the right wing, which is people get confused into thinking, well, I heard it online, it must be true. For God's sake, double check. And double check what we say. Go to the original sources, go to the data. Please, whatever you do your homework. Actually bother to look into it when someone says that frog is gay or that it's a fact that there's racial differences. And I don't know for a fact that he was referring to that. I'm afraid as you watch the whole video that he might have been, but that's why people shout at you. And maybe shouting at you is not the right way to do it, but when right wingers, let's put it this way, that are leaders go around saying, hey, black people are X, Y, or Z, I don't even want to get into all the terrible things they say. And they say, well, it's a fact, right? That's really dangerous because it's not facts. And it is perverted propaganda, which then gets people to go, well, I mean, look, I feel bad about it, but I guess it's a fact that blacks are more violent.
Look, the reason why
it's not true.
So the reason why I'm not being as generous as you is actually not because of my mood. It's because it's at this point, like if you voted for Trump in the last election and you have seen what he's done and you have changed your mind, like I commend you for being open-minded enough to consider the damage that he's done. But if at this point you are willing to attend a rally for him in West Virginia, that means you are a real supporter. And you have seen what he's done and you are in favor of it. You support it. I mean, you have to support it if you're gonna show up to a rally. It's one thing to vote for a guy, it's another thing to actually show up to a rally. Like he separated toddlers from their mothers at the border, people who are seeking asylum.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to look at you and say, oh no, I think you're a good person, you just bought into propaganda. Regardless of how much propaganda you've bought into, I think any decent human being would look at that zero tolerance policy and find it so unconscionable that they would not want to support a candidate who would push for something like that. That's the reason why I'm not as generous as you in looking at them as good people. But with that said, other portions of this interview did make them seem like they're open-minded. So for instance, they were asked about this whole Robert Mueller case, and they were asked, hey, do you think it's okay for Trump to fire Mueller? And they specifically said, no, we don't think that's okay. We don't believe that the president should be above the law. And I give them credit for that.
So let's watch that clip too.
Do you think that the president should use all powers within his reach to try to prevent himself and his associates from being investigated for wrongdoing?
No.
Nobody's above the law. I don't believe that at all.
No, not at all. And I've said it many a times. If he goes down or if he did something, he should be punished. If he did something wrong or he gets caught, then that's for him to go down. But let's not forget, Bill Clinton lied to the American people about an affair he was having while in office, and he didn't even get taken out of office.
Yeah, that's because he didn't violate campaign finance laws. It's a different thing. But look, Eric is seeing this in the Trump rallies. That's why we're actually bothering to go down instead of just talking about people in terms of stereotypes. Sometimes they make it awfully easy to do that, right? But in Eric's experience, and I've watched all the videos, and you should watch them all too on Rebel headquarters, about half the people he talks to goes, no, he shouldn't fire Mueller. We should find out what happened. And if he did something wrong, that's really bad. Do they really mean it? It seems like they mean it. So Trump might be in for a rude surprise if it turns out he fires Mueller, and then maybe even half of his base that bothers to go to his rallies goes, you shouldn't have done that. That means you're guilty. So we'll see. But in our experience, talking to Trump supporters, that does seem like the one issue where they're like, no, he shouldn't do that.
Like this video? That's great. And you never have to miss another episode of TYT by hitting the subscribe button below. And ring the bell to get notified whenever we publish a new video.